and we are going to go to our next guest. And
Whoa.
he is going to join us live here on our big broadcast. And we've got to bring in
Is
Mr.
this video
John.
live? Should I be
You're fine. You know, I've had worse on this show.
oh,
I've I've had worse on this broadcast. So it is
I'm getting my
definitely.
hair makeup artist, which is known as Hat.
That's awesome. Well, I think a lot of people are needing makeup artists and hair people during the lockdown. But we have got a great guest with us today. Ethan joins us here on our broadcast. Ethan Gold, and Ethan, you have got an incredible background. You're a great musician. Tell me and John here a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I feel like there's a joke about that. You know, how many? Well, Morrissey had that good line. What was it? There's the story of my life. 16, clumsy and shy. Yeah, it's pretty much that. No, and that's the story of his life. I'm a musician. I dream music. I've been through some stuff in my life. Had a head injury a few years ago. It's something that is
Wow.
I've realized is interesting to people. So I mention it because it's kind of a tangible example of a hurdle, a very tangible hurdle. I put out a record independently, and then I had some great things happening, and then the injury kind of set me off course again. For a few years of recovery, and I've managed to actually put out some records during that time, some soundtrack albums and instrumental and cover stuff, but I haven't returned with another kind of song-based record until something that's coming up later this year at some point. But I'm a musician, and I've also allowed my political consciousness to come into my music recently, which I think it was always sort of something I kept separate, but I'm integrating that, integrating my sense of what's right in the world, and also integrating the soundtrack and producing work I've done into I've actually been doing some live streaming and stuff, and I've started actually playing my songs as well as some of my film music stuff. So I guess in this modern era, it's kind of like bringing all those things together and being honest about who we are. So I'm step by step learning to do that. I don't know if that's the kind of answer you're looking for.
No,
Actually,
no,
it's pretty interesting.
no. That works, my friend. Um, so talk to us about how you got into music.
Music for me was, I had like a lot of people, I had a rather, home life was challenging, put it that way. And for me, music was definitely my sort of private escape realm. And I didn't get lessons as a young kid, but there was a piano in the house, old upright piano, and that became kind of my refuge. And music continued to be my refuge. And I started dreaming songs fairly early, although it's actually picked up a lot since the head injury. Sort of got my head out of the way, and but
Literally and figuratively, I guess.
yeah, I mean, well, there's lots of interesting. It definitely brought the sort of Buddhist or whatever ideas of or just in general spiritual notions of the person being separate from the mind, because I didn't have my wit, and I was always kind of a you know smarty type person, who led with my head. And then when I didn't have my wit and I couldn't figure out how to cross the street, I was still making music, and I was still, even though I lost a lot of friends during that period because they couldn't deal with it, um, I was still kind of inside very much. I'm still absolutely myself, even though my personality, my wit, my ability to talk and be, social in any way wasn't there. I was totally myself. And it's kind of what a lot of the spiritual practices try to teach people is that there's this, the you that's separate from the mind. But anyway, I'm sort of diverting onto that. But the music for me, in a way, was always kind of that. I don't always use this word, but kind of like the soul essence coming through, and it was my escape as a kid, and definitely was like a magical world I could go into, creating music in my head in a lot of cases, yeah, it was like the private room. That's so
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. So, if people want to find your music and want to be involved with you online, how do they do this, Ethan?
They can go to ethangold.com, which is my website, and social networks. I've managed to get at Ethan Gold, ETHANGOLD, on most of them, Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Anyway, and my music, my song stuff, my soundtrack work, and the singles that I've been putting out recently, kind of leading up to my next album, are on all those places where you can find music online, Spotify and Amazon Music and iTunes and all that stuff.
We've got Ethan Gold with us today. He joins us live here in our broadcast. And John, what do you think of Ethan?
I think he's pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know what your I suffered from post-concussion syndrome, so because I was an idiot when I played sports, so I kind of know what you're talking about on one little aspect, but probably not to the severity that you do, because I was smart enough to realize I was being a dumbass doing those things, so I stopped with it. But I'm reading the very last paragraph of your About page where it's talking about, the early part. Do you think part of the writing and maybe the stuff came from your parents to a point? I mean, I know it seems like it was pretty, little topsy-turvy to a point from what you were saying, but I mean, your dad was a writer, your mom used to be around a concert promoter and stuff. I didn't know if maybe that was it. And how would you describe your music style?
I've started using the term art rock, which isn't totally accurate, but it's to get away from just the fact of using my name. A lot of people would use the term singer-songwriter, which never felt right. And people who know my music are like, "You're not a singer-songwriter." I'm like, well, technically I write songs and sing them, so technically I am, but in the sense that it's not like a guy on a stool singing
right.
gentle love songs. I do that sometimes, but it's not. But I have a kind of much broader palette of sounds that I use. So I put it in the tradition of art rock, which isn't a term that people use that often, but I mean, and that's in the tradition that includes everything from like the Velvet Underground. In fact, I've had press that mentioned Lou Reed in the context of what I do, but from Velvet Underground to Pink Floyd to Radiohead to even I would say like Elliott Smith, who's mostly acoustic based, but it's a very kind of artsy approach to the songwriting as opposed to like strumming and singing about your girlfriend or whatever, which can be great. And but it's not my main stock and trade. But yeah, I mean, in terms of my parents, like certainly I think I didn't grow up mostly with my father. My parents split up when I was 3, but I think just probably having an artist in the family certainly made the notion of doing my art as a thing feel more possible than for people who grow up without that, so but in terms of a direct influence, probably not, but in that sense, yeah, I think it certainly made the decision to make this my life less of a jump than it would be from somebody from a more like conservative type family. It was definitely not a normal American family, shall we say.
I'm trying to wonder what normal is anymore nowadays.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it was San Francisco, so you can kind of imagine.
Okay, gotcha.
The various things that it was. There were a lot of phases. So.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, that works. Ethan Gold with us today. He joins us live here in our broadcast. And he's got a brand new single, Not Me, Us, and a video, as well as some future plans. And so tell us about this single here and this video.
Well, this was, I guess I hope I won't, have people screaming in their, well, I'd say their cars, but I guess people are quarantining wherever they're listening to you.
Yes.
But it was, initially some people who were involved with the Bernie Sanders movement asked me to write something.
That's awesome.
And I am, fairly political person. We could have a long conversation about that, but we'll save that for another time. But really, for me, I had a notion. So, Not Me, Us, I think is a beautiful idea. The notion of, certainly in America, individualism and the kind of idea of like it's all about yourself is so much inbred in the culture. And, Trump is in a way like a perfect icon of that kind of all about me sort of way of life. Just in terms of his life history as a guy born rich and all about being rich and making hotels for the rich and talking about himself and caring about himself. It's a very kind of individualism extreme kind of version. So the notion of focusing a little bit more on like we're all in this together kind of energy, a kind of approach to life. I thought was a good phrase. And but also for me, as somebody who likes a lot of that kind of left platform, but not all of it, and definitely not the messaging, I felt like with the song and with the video, and even more so with the video, I wanted to make. Actually, my initial idea was to do sort of like a We Are the World thing and have celebrity singers doing different lines. That was actually where I was like, okay, well, here's my idea. And then there was a lot of just waiting around for a response.
Yes.
And obviously we all know what happened with the primaries. And I just, while I was kind of waiting, I had a vision of what I thought this idea could be. And really, for me, it's kind of a unity message, and it's really like a patriotic message as well. And in the video, I really wanted to make that like, all walks of life kind of message for America. We're all in this together kind of flavor, which I feel like, Bernie's campaign might have done better if they had kind of latched onto that sort of a messaging earlier.
Yes.
But that's a larger kind of strategic conversation. But
well, now that I know this, we definitely have to have you back to chat about this, because I was a big Bernie supporter the first time that he ran, and I hated the fact that everything was against him. And then this second time, I was hoping that he wasn't going to do like some of the others where they. When Romney and these guys run the second time, they're all like, well, let's sell out to the highest bidder. And Bernie did not sell out to the highest bidder, but for whatever reason, he just didn't have the spark that he had the first time. And
I know what you mean. I mean, I think the heart attack probably had something to do with that.
Well, that too.
That's a reality, and he recovered, but like that's a real thing, And like he was running, had a major heart attack like early in this run. But also I happen to think a lot of the messaging could have been
it could have been better.
What works politically, but I feel, I mean, it's kind of like my last video I did, which was I don't know if you guys saw that, called Never Met a Word Like You, which was like I did it was kind of as I was starting to perform again for the first time in years, and I played at some climate strike rallies in the fall in LA, and I put out a video and song which will be on the next record, but it's called anyway. But what I was doing with that and what I wanted to do with Not Me, Us as well was the Never Met a Word Like You song and video is a song for the earth, but I'm not trying to make it a like you've got to be a radical, you've got to be a vegan, whatever. It's just let's just connect with our love of the planet, our love of animals, and in the video you can see that if anybody wants to watch that on my YouTube or whatever. But it's like a beautiful. I got like the best footage I could from around the world.
That's
of
awesome.
The earth, and it's like this doesn't have to be a political message in a way. This should be just obvious, And likewise, like caring about other people shouldn't be some crazy radical idea. It should be middle of the road, basic human decency. And so I kind of felt like with the Bernie Sanders campaign. And then when I was like, okay, I'm just going to take this song and honor the campaign with some images of him, but also, which I put in the video, but also essentially like, hey, his message was kind of about that. Yeah. But let's really like make it clearer. Like I'm like, it's sort of like going with a John Cougar Mellencamp approach to populism.
That's
opposed
awesome.
To, Che Guevara.
Yes.
And I think ultimately, actually, most of the platform, Bernie's platform, isn't that, it's like most European countries. It's not some crazy, but like the messaging made it seem more radical than it was.
Yes.
And
well, yeah, because like now, you look at all these corporations that they all got to bail out. And when they get the bailout, it's not called communism. If we would have bailed out the average person, that's oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah, we have socialism for the rich. I mean,
yes, that's what it is.
That's the American way now, and they call it essential. I mean, it's the same thing in 2008. Let those mofos go bankrupt. Let the I mean, why are the airline? Why would like you take the risk and then we cover your risk?
Yes.
That's not how it works. It's not how it works in capitalism either.
We definitely have
things to fall when they screw up or when history hits up against their business model. You're done.
We definitely have to continue this conversation down the road because I want to get to your music.
Yeah,
we're gonna play this tune, and Ethan, I will be in touch on email because I definitely want to have you back because we want to follow up this conversation because we just simply do not have enough time to discuss what I want to discuss here with you.
The song is meant to be really a unifying message, and the video is just like, hey, I love this country, I love the people. We've got to have a little more of a united sort of flavor to the way we were going about this whole democracy thing.
Well, I've got to go, my friend, but I will definitely be in touch. Thank you, Ethan. Appreciate it, sir. And we are going to go to his tune, and then we are going to get things rolling with our next guest here on our world-famous KJAG radio broadcast.
Some people think it's a game. Yeah, loving you makes us the enemies. But it's okay. We'll have our say. Never met a word like you. Break on through, they'll think it over. Never met a word like you. You are the truth, they'll think it over. Never met a word like you. You'll make it through, they'll think it over. 'Cause this world's the only one we got. Loving you was never easy. You made life, but you made death too. Yeah, and storms and floods, and we need shelter. So we turned you out might wake up and shout with me. Never met a word like you, but I've gone through the thinking over. Never met a word like you, sky so blue, the thinking over. Never met a word like you, you make it through the thinking over. 'Cause this world's the only one.
Millions are bracing for a hurricane, the likes of which we've never seen. Everything as far as you can see, destroyed. Hundreds of thousands took to the streets for action on climate change. Activists call it the march of the century.
Massive pipeline explosion and big oil spills threatening wildlife.
Fires are raging at a record rate.
See the rest of Ethan's video on YouTube. Search Ethan Gold. And that is that.
Never met a word like you.
And we're going to take a break here on the world famous KJAG